Okay. All right. Well, welcome back, team, for SEO for Beginners. This is week 3 of our 4-week course. Let me just present here. Okay. So we'll just run through the basics of SEO. We've already talked about digital marketing as an introduction. We looked at, in our last module, we looked at content marketing, and here we're now going to dive into SEO, which is search engine optimization. So let's just reset ourselves. We're going to focus. So if you've got anything that may distract you, turn it off, get off the Facebook and whatever it may be. Make sure you engage. So I will be asking some questions along the way and asking you to write things down. So a pen and paper would be helpful if you're going to take notes. And then, of course, here it's all about learning. So let's do that together. So here we are. As I mentioned, we've been through digital marketing intro, done content, SEO now, and then we'll go from there. So let me just ask you, for those of you who are on the line, what would you like to get out of this particular session? Okay, so if you want to just type into the chat box what, maybe a question you have around the SEO topic, or a focus that you'd like to be covered today, just let me know. Okay. So I'm just opening the chat. Okay, Greg says getting most from SEO. Awesome. What's your knowledge on SEO so far, Greg? Like, how much do you know about search engine optimization? Basics. Okay, that's fine. So this is an introduction. So we won't get too technical. I'll try not to get too technical, but definitely that's what we're looking to do. So thank you for your responses. And let's go. So the objectives for today's workshop really are 3 key objectives. One is to understand why SEO is important for your business. We'll talk about the key elements, help you understand the key elements of SEO, and we'll start identifying keywords for your specific business. So what we'll cover are 4 main topics. One is, why is SEO important? We'll give a definition of what search engine optimization is. I'll talk about the top 3 ranking factors to get your website ranking in search engines, and then we'll look at how to do basic keyword research. We'll go through an activity together to actually do that in this session. All right, so, well, why is SEO important? And really to answer this one, this is it. So there's a common phrase that we're all probably familiar with by now, and that's "let's Google it," right? That's become part of our vernacular. It's how we answer questions that we can't answer. And I actually, to find an answer to this, I went into Google. You'll notice it's Chinese characters because I'm in Taiwan at the moment. And I typed in, why is SEO important, right? And then the next thing you do is, once you've typed in your search query and you hit search, then you go through and you sort through a bunch of results that come up on the results page. Okay, this is often referred to as a SERP. SERP, which is your search engine results page. And on there, you'll see, just like you can see on the screen here, there are a list of different results that have come up, okay? And there is a sort of a Google recommended answer at the top with an image embedded, okay? That's actually one of the search results on the page. And underneath that, there are also other common questions that people are asking. And Google does a good job of showing us those questions to help with providing relevance to your query. Okay, so what we'll really explore in this module is how it's all about relevance and searcher intent. Why is it they're searching, and what are they really looking for? And Google and the search engines try, and they use algorithms and technology to try and give you the best result based on what you're asking, okay? So what you're not seeing on the screen is what we call Google Ads or AdWords. So typically when you do a search, you may see at the top some search results that have the word ad next to it. It's like a little green box, if I recall correctly. And that's basically people who are paying for placement of specific ads through Google AdWords. Okay, but for all intent and purpose of this conversation, SEO is what we call organic, which is the search results that come up that people are not paying for. So it's free results, and this is why it's important for you guys to get your head around this. All right. So basically, if people find you via a web search, so they've gone into a search engine and they're looking for something specific, and in the results your website comes up, okay, then you can really get access a lot of new visitors to your site, and that can then help achieve your business goals, right? So that could be, for example, here's to make money. It could be to grow your reach or your impact. It could be just to introduce new people to a specific concept or idea. Whatever that is, SEO will help you achieve that, okay, if you do it correctly and you put some effort into doing it. Now, if people can't find you in a web search, then you're really missing out on an opportunity, and chances are they're going to find your competitors, okay, if your competitors are doing a good job with search engine optimization. So, and really the number one reason we're talking about this today is because you need to be found, right? You're starting, you've got a startup, and you want to grow, the business, grow the reach, the finance, all of that stuff. All right, you need people, okay? So what we need to answer, or part of the questioning that you're going to go through is, well, one, where are people searching to find out information about your product or service? How are they searching for it? And also, number three is, do you or your website does it come up when the results are being displayed, right? And you want, ideally, you want to have all those things covered. All right, now this is, just it's a pizza, and I'm hungry because it is lunchtime here. But just an example that I gave in the introduction workshop was that, think about your local pizza, and if you were new to an area and you wanted to search for the local pizza place, how would you do it, right? And most people would say, well, we'd go into your phone, go into the phone and just go to Google search and type in, pizza, best pizza in town, or best pizza suburb, whatever it might be in your location, and then you would look for those results. And this is very common. I'm just using pizza as an example, but it's very common for people to do that for all kinds of things, right? Now, who remembers what the ZMOT is? If you can remember what ZMOT is, I'd love you to type an answer into the chat box right now. Anyone remember what the zero moment of truth was all about? Okay, so it really is, the ZMOT, or the zero moment of truth, refers to the stage of a buyer journey where where potential buyers or consumers are researching online before they make a purchase. All right. One of the great things the internet has enabled is the ability for us as consumers to go and do research, to get reviews online, to find comparable products and prices and services and all these kind of things, right? And if you recall, when we covered this in the intro session, zero moment of truth is that big section here in between someone initially finding out about a specific product, service, or business, right, which is the stimulus. And that could be an ad placement, that could be a word of mouth referral, that could be something else. And then before they go to the shopping cart or the purchasing step, there is this whole research phase that's happening, right? And so what does this mean for you? It really, according to Google, it takes the average customer about 7 hours of interaction across 11 different touch points in 4 different locations. That, we're talking about online locations, but sometimes offline locations, before someone actually gets into the buying stage. Okay, so rather than someone buying, your product immediately, right? They're doing things like checking websites and blogs. They're looking at your social media presence. to see if you're alive and active there. They're looking for reviews and recommendations, and sometimes they're scheduling time to talk with you to understand more about your business, right? So this is all important, and SEO really can help with a lot of this. And this is a piece that 7 reasons that why SEO matters, coming from a write-up on Forbes. 1, in 2017 specifically, 1, it still works, right? A lot of traffic is being generated. People are still searching Google. That's no surprise to any of you, I'm sure. It's not, number 2, it's not going to stop working anytime soon, right? Even now with audio and video, right? A lot of those searches depend on keywords, right? So if you think about searching YouTube for a song, or searching for music or video content, whatever it is, you're still using keywords to do it, right? If you're going Facebook search for people searching for groups and products and businesses, they're using the search search bar, and they're typing in keywords to find it, right? Number 3, it's cost effective, right? If you're comparing doing SEO to other forms of digital marketing, such as pay-per-click advertising, it's gonna, if you compare paying for Google AdWords compared to doing SEO, right, there's huge cost effectiveness in doing SEO, right? Number 4, this is a stat that I pulled from, this is on Forbes, somewhere between 80 to 90% of customers now check online reviews prior to making a purchase. I'm certainly one of those people. Like when I'm, looking to buy something or looking to, join a cause or something like this, I'm always looking for what other people are thinking to help inform that decision, right? Number 5, there's the rise of mobile usage and local search optimization. So there's more, we're seeing that trend upwards, more people getting on devices now. Number 6 here is, if you're not having a healthy content profile online, that can be damaging to your business and your brand. Google actually evaluates your online presence when looking at your site. So it's actually looking at, where your content is. Do you have a website? How fast is your website loading? Is it optimized for mobile? Do you have other websites pointing back to you? Do you have social media profiles online? Are you active there? Right. So it's using all that information to essentially rank you. Okay. So if you don't exist and you don't come up, if you're not doing SEO, then that's going to hurt you. Number 7 is your competitors are doing it, whether you are or not. So if you're not involved, if you're not actively looking at your SEO, then you're losing out because other people are doing it. Okay, so what is search engine optimization? All right, so SEO is really the practice of making changes to your web pages, to your content, and promotion of that content to improve visibility in what I mentioned earlier, organic or unpaid search engine results. Okay, so it's it's really the ability to we're saying optimize, but it's to tweak certain parts of your site and your content to make sure that's being found. All right. So a common example here, just as a phrase, is investing in SEO helped my website get a higher ranking in search engine results, and that's really the aim of SEO. Now, Moz.com, which is one of the industry leaders or experts in the SEO space, they're saying SEO isn't just about building search engine friendly websites. It's also about making your site better for people as a user experience, right? Because if people are having a better experience of your website, whether it's on mobile device or on desktop, then they're more likely to stick around and engage with you and your business, and also more likely to come back, right? So this is much about UX or UI, user interface and user experience, as it is about keywords and things like that. Okay. Now, how do search engines understand your website? Without getting into all the technical details of spiders and things like that, essentially, search engines reward pages with the right combination of what's known as ranking factors or signals. So let's think of it as a checklist, okay, of things that the search engines look for. And if you're doing well with those, then you're going to rank higher. Okay, so SEO, from the publisher side, which is where we all sit, we being publishers of our websites and our content, is about ensuring that your content generates the right types of signals, right? And we're going to look at what those signals are. There are two major classes of ranking signals or factors, right? There's on-page SEO, which are things that you do, that are within your control, right? That you can affect on your website, right? Like headlines and images and optimizing the speed of the site and these sort of things, right? Then there are off-page ranking factors, which are factors influenced by others or not directly tied to your site. This could be, for example, other people linking to your website, right? So if you have, like Investible linking to your site, okay, that's not within your control. That's them doing that, but it does contribute as a ranking factor. All right, so on page and off page, they're the two different elements. But what we can focus on is the on page, because you do control that, and to a lesser degree, you can influence off page, but majority of that will not be within your control. Okay, so let's look at the categories of factors. So within on-page and off-page, there are 7 categories of factors that Google are looking at. So one is the content itself, right? So what the search engines are looking for are specific, factors that relate to the content and quality of your material, right? So is your content relevant? Is it answering specific questions and queries that users are searching for? Is it, in-depth type of material, or is it very surface level? Are you getting a lot of, how much time are people spending looking at your content, right? So that plays a factor here. There's also architecture, which is the second category, which is all about your site functionality. Okay, does it load fast? Is it optimized for search engines to find it? There are a whole bunch of different factors, and we'll share a few of those in a moment, which relate to the technical side of your website. Like, where is it being hosted? Is the web host fast? Okay, so that's an important factor as well. Then there's HTML, which is more specific to the coding of your web pages. Are you using CSS? Is it, is it not? Are you using code that is slowing down the website, or is the code fast? Right, that plays a factor. Okay. Then there's a fourth category here, which is trust, and this relates to how trustworthy or authoritative a site seems to be, and this comes down to, authority is determined by the length of time that the site has been online, but also what other websites are referring back to it, right? Are education, universities linking to your site? Is government linking to your site? These all play a major role, all right, in terms of trust. Then we talk about the fifth the fifth architecture here is links, and this also relates to what type of links are coming back to your site. Are you also linking within your website to various pages? All right. Do you have what's called an XML file set up so that Google or the search engines know the link structure within your site? So these also play a ranking factor. Then we've got things like the sixth element here is personalization factors, which is more around, are you personalizing the content on your site based on who's coming to your site, right? Are you giving a great mobile experience if someone's on a mobile device versus if they're on a desktop device? Sorry. And so, this also is calculated within the ranking. And then the last one is around social, and the social category really ties to how social sharing impacts your rankings, right? If you've got a Facebook profile or Facebook business page, for example, is there engagement happening on that page? Are people sharing content on that page? Is traffic? Are you seeing traffic coming from your social platforms to your website? This all again adds to the ranking factors that Google certainly is looking for. Okay, so what you're seeing on the screen now is searchengineland.com is another industry expert in the SEO field, and they essentially put together the top 35 ranking factors. There literally are thousands of ranking factors. Google has not released all of them. So, it's still a lot of this is still, let's say, their secret sauce in how they rank things, but they have released over time certain factors that we are aware of, right? And search engine experts are aware of. And on the screen here is Search Engine Land put together what they're calling a periodic table of SEO factors. As you can see at the top, there's the on page, and then there's the off page, and then you've got the 7 different categories we just discussed. And then within those, there are different sub factors like quality, the crawl factor, which is that's all about the ability for the Google spiders to be able to crawl your site properly, right? There are things like authority we talked about. There's quality. There's even the country. Is your site catering for a specific location, of users, and how is it addressing that, right? So essentially, the plus, if you're looking at the numbers on each one of these elements, I'll call them elements. The plus 3s are the ones that you really want to focus on. Plus 3s and plus 2s. But also keep in mind that there are a couple of in red down the bottom, like spam and paid search and keyword stuffing, which are in red, and they've got -3 and -2. Okay, which means if you're doing those things on your site, then that's going to have a negative impact on your search rankings. Okay. All right, now let's condense all those 35 into the top 3 ranking factors, because in this way you'll be able to do some practical implementation from here. The first one is links. Okay, so we talked about links coming from other people's sites to your site, right? We call this a backlink, and a backlink is essentially a hyperlink that links from someone else's web page back to your own web page or a specific site on your page. Okay, so the act of going out there and getting links back to your site is commonly referred to as backlinking. That's a process that you can do. Now I mentioned domain authority before, and the trust factor. So domain authority is actually a metric developed by Moz. It's the way it works is the greater it's scored from 1 to 100, and 100 being complete authority, which means you're like Facebook, which you're #1 ranking in your category, and you're getting a lot of traffic. There's a lot of reputation there. It's a credible site. You got thousands, if not hundreds of different sites linking back to you. The greater your domain authority, the more likely you are to have a strong traffic and high ranking. Okay, so you can borrow domain authority from other sites with high domain authority. And here are some backlinking tips for you. Okay, so you want to aim to get backlinks from pages that have good domain authority. Okay, and I'll show you a tool in a moment that will help you identify what sites have good DA. And you want to make sure your links are placed on, even within those sites. So it's not enough to get just a link back from, say, University of Melbourne or University of Sydney or something like that, right? It's actually, that will help. Okay, so that will help with your ranking because you've got a university or institution linking back to you. But what's going to help even more is if it's linked to a relevant page on their site, which is specific to your topic or subject matter. Okay, so we'll explore this a bit further, right? But you want to make sure that the pages that the links are coming from are relevant to the search query, okay, or the keyword that you're trying to link for. Now, in bold down the bottom, the third point here, you can do link exchanges, link outreach. You can comment on blogs. You can do comments on forums, which are relevant to your industry. And they're all good ways to get out there and get high quality backlinks back to your site. Okay, so if you've got a pen, I want you to write this down right now. Okay, so one key action that you're going to do, or your team will do, is to go out and do the link exchanges and the link outreaching, and the commenting on high authority blogs within your specific industry or niche. Okay, now just one more tip around backlinking, right? So I was alluding to this earlier, but it's better to have links, okay, spread out amongst a lot of domains with targeted but diverse anchor text. So anchor text is, if you can see that little image down the bottom there, it's essentially HTML code that's placed on a web page, which usually starts with the A href. That's basically a HTML tag which says here's a link, and then it's got in blue the anchor text, which is, the anchor text is actually the words that's used, on the page, right? So it says click here, for example, is in the example, but instead of having, if you're getting a link from someone else's page, instead of having them just putting click here and then putting a link to your site or a specific page on your site, it's better off that they're using the keywords that you're trying to rank for. Okay, so this typically involves you having a conversation with them and saying, look, it's great that you're putting a link here, but if you could use these specific keywords, that would really help. It helps put some context around what that link is on their site, so that their readers will understand it better anyway. But secondly, Google's going to like it, or the search engines will like it better when they're doing their crawling and whatnot. They'll know that, oh, okay, this link here that's been placed on this site is about this particular topic. All right, so that makes it more relevant. Okay, let me just check in with you guys. Okay, Greg's saying he's lost when you say domain authority. I'll come back to that, Greg. Does the anchor text make sense when I'm talking about this? Just check in here. Yes, okay. So, yeah, so domain authority, really just think of it as if it's Google or the search engines will use domain authority to decide whether or not a link is, how to rank that specific link or your website. Okay, so if your website, let's say you have 100 other websites linking back to your site, okay, but those sites are like, they've just been created today or yesterday, okay, so they're really nothing sites. No one really knows about them. You might have gone and created those 100 sites yourself, and they're sitting on random domains, and they all point back to your website. Okay, so Google can see, all right, there are 100 links coming, pointing to this site, right? So if we're just looking at volume, you may say, oh, this could be a popular site because there are 100 sites linking back to it. But the problem is none of those sites have been around for more than a day, and none of them have any reputation. So they're not government websites. They're not big websites that are getting thousands of views per day or per month. So yeah, so it's checking to see the legitimacy of those links, right? So sites that have great high domain authority, like talking about the 100, if they had 100, they've been around for some time. Like like Sydney Morning Herald, for example, if we were to localize it to Australia, right? National newspaper, been around for many years. They're getting millions of views a month on their site, like in terms of website traffic. All right, and they've got a whole bunch of links coming from other places linking to their articles. Okay, so that then Google looks at that and says, wow, like this site has reputation, it's popular, it's got a lot of real links that exist, so there's credibility there. It's going to rank it really high. And now if you happen to have one of your blog posts or articles being linked from SMH to your site, then it's going to say, well, if this site that has a lot of domain authority is linking to Greg's site, then Greg's site must have some kind of must be legitimate in some way. Does that make sense? And the more of those links that you have, then the more ranking you're going to get, because it's going to look at that and go, wow, you've got 100 really legitimate high domain authority sites linking to your site. Therefore, we're going to elevate your site to the same degree. So it's basically saying, you're surrounded by some really great websites, therefore your site must be great as well. Okay, so hope that makes sense. Let's close that. Okay, so number 2 top ranking factor is content. All right, and this is why we did a whole module on content. And if you haven't seen that module, the recording is available for you guys to go and have a look through. But this is super important because you can't have SEO without content, and content doesn't really work without SEO. It's a marriage made in Google heaven. So coming back to domain authority, and thanks for the question, Greg. So here's how this works. All right, it's really about quality of links and content over quantity. All right, and what you're seeing on the screen is a search for chocolate lab. So the keyword is chocolate lab, which is a type of Labrador, for those of you who don't know what that is. And so you can see here, if you look at the number 2 and number 3 search results, right? And you look at the domain authority on the right-hand side, or backlinks, you can see that the number 4 and number 5 results have more backlinks. So number 4, for example, is Wikipedia. It's got 24,000 backlinks coming back to that particular page, and 1,000 plus domains linking back to the page. But the interesting thing here is the results for that have come up number 2 and number 3 have far less backlinks and far less domains, right? But it's still ranking higher in the search results, okay? So this is just some proof, I guess, to demonstrate that it's not about just the number of backlinks that you can get, okay? Even though, one site has 24,000 and the other one has only 81, the one with 81 is still ranking higher due to context and relevance to the search, right? To the search query, okay? So it's taking a whole bunch of different factors to then determine that, okay, based on what the person has searched for, all right, the results number 1, 2, and 3 are more relevant to that query than results number 4 and 5, okay? Even though, website number 4 does mention, Labrador Retriever in there somewhere, and it might even have chocolate Labrador Retriever keyword in there. But this is more, so this is just to demonstrate that it's really about quality of content. And if your content is produced in such a way that it's more relevant, it answers the questions that are being asked, it's filled with great statistics and information and visuals and data that engages the readers, okay, then that's going to help with your ranking, okay? So the key question here was, what was the user's intent when they were typing in that query? Okay, were they looking to buy a Labrador? Were they just doing some research paper, research for a research paper that they're working on at university? Like, what was it that they were trying to achieve? And Google has in its algorithm a way to try and determine, what are the best results that it could place for that particular user. Okay. Now, we talked about the buyer journey in the last module, and this ties directly to user intent because we're talking about business here. And right, it's if you remember the 3 stages of the buyer journey, you've got your awareness stage, where the potential buyer is aware of a specific problem or challenge. They've got a question, right? And then they go into a consideration stage when they're clear, they've done their research, they're clear now what the problem is, and now they're looking for options to help resolve the problem, all right? And then you've got the decision stage, which is where they then are looking for information to help decide on, which vendor or which solution they're going to go with. And depending on what stage of the buyer journey they're on, the user intent is different, right? So, if I'm just looking for an answer for, I've got a sore throat and a fever and I'm trying to work out what it is, right? What I'm searching for is quite different to when I'm at the consideration stage, which is when I know what I've got, and now I'm looking for solutions for that. So I might be typing in, I don't know, products for strep throat or best, recommended products for strep throat as an example, okay? That's very different to me typing in, what do I have if I have sore throat and a fever, okay? So the buyer intent or the user intent is quite different. And you want to make sure you have content which addresses each one of those stages in the buyer journey, okay? And you want to have that content tied to keywords that relate to what the user is searching for at each of those stages, right? So if you go back to the content module. One of the exercises that I asked you to go through and complete is to actually map out the buyer journey and then what type of content you would create for each stage of the journey. You would then also add to that what keywords might you try and rank for at those stages. Okay. So here's some content tips for improving your SEO results. First of all, you can optimize your content by optimizing your on-site and on-page factors. So we talked about on-site and off-page. On-page basically refers to the things you can do on specific pages within your site. Okay, so like fixing the headlines and putting keywords in your headlines, or using header tags and things like this. So those things that you can essentially influence on your pages, and I'm going to show you a tool that you can use to do that in a few moments. Okay, and making sure that you set up your site the right way, so before you even get started, that's important. So we talked about, I mentioned, getting the right web hosts. So you got a fast host that's not going to delay the speed time. All right, if your site is loading too slow, Google will derank you. Okay, will derank the site. Okay. So the second point here is when the content answers the question of the search better than the other results, right? It will rank higher. All right, and you want to make sure you have a decent link profile for that search result, and that basically just means that you have your social profile set up. You have more than just one blog post. You've got content, a bunch of content on your site which is related to that particular search query as well. Okay, and you're linking between those content pieces, right? So and then you've got all these backlinks pointing back to your site. But the key action or the key takeaway I want for you guys to walk away with here is you want to focus on creating great, relevant content with the right keywords and having a few decent backlinks built to those content pages. Okay, so if you're just focusing on doing that and you're doing that well, then you're doing a better job than most, and that's going to help with your SEO. And just to note here that the key is to find keywords in our niches which have low competition and create content for those specific searches, right? To take advantage of gaps in what people are trying to find. And I'll talk about low, high, and medium competition in a moment, but that just refers to how competitive your keywords are that you're using. Okay, if you've got high competition keywords, it's going to be very difficult for you to rank for those keywords. So you're looking for low competition keywords. All right, so here's how we do it. So there's a free tool for you to use to do keyword competition research. The website's semrush.com, right? If you head over there, you can register for a free profile, and then that will let you do some search results. Okay, it will only give you, I think, 5 search results if you're using the free account. But then if you upgrade to the paid account, the pro account, then it will give you basically unlimited search results. You can also use there's a Google keyword tool, and I've given you a link at the end of this presentation to that, and that's another tool that you can use to do this competition research. So let me just show you how this kind of works. If you go to the site, you can then enter your target keyword into the search bar, and it will give you a ton of useful data, right? Down the bottom in that screenshot there, I did a search last night for small business CRM, and then it gave me the keyword difficulty number, which is a competition keyword competition number that we're looking for. Okay, and then on the bottom left, I've put there, right, if it's a 80+ percentage that comes back with, then that means the competition is high, and you're gonna struggle to try and get those keywords ranked. 60 to 80% is medium competition. Still worthwhile to go after those, but the ones where you're going to really win is if the difficulty level is less than 60%. All right, and that means that's low competition. Okay. Now, volume is also important. You can see the third column here is volume. That's number of searches for that keyword per month. Okay. And so if you're getting 0 volume, then even if the difficulty if the difficulty level is like less than 60%, it's not going to help you because no one's searching for that keyword. Okay, so you still want volume, and you still want the ideal is you've got some great volume, and then you've got low competition keywords that you can use. Okay, and this section here, which helps analyze competition, it's the organic search results section inside SEM Rush. All right, so take a note of this, and we'll come back to it. I've got an activity for you to go through where we'll do this together. Okay, now the third top ranking factory is something called RankBrain, which sounds a little weird, but essentially RankBrain is Google's artificial intelligence system. It's a machine learning system that's used to help provide the best results for users, right? It's auto-updating, it learns from how we search, and then it ranks, it re-ranks and reprioritizes search engine ranking based on how many people are searching for specific queries and how many people are clicking on what results, right? So if for example, it's ranking a website at number 4 for a specific keyword, right? But then Google's seeing that there are more people clicking through on the result number 7 over time, then it's going to rank number 7 higher because it's showing more relevance, right? And RankBrain does that automatically. It's basically AI technology that does that. Okay. Now, what can you do to influence RankBrain? The main thing here is you can focus again on providing the best content possible for specific search keywords that you want to rank for, and this means great content with articles which have a minimum of 500 words, which provides answers which are relevant to the search query, right? So there's a common question that I get asked a lot around, well, what's the best length for a content piece? And that's a sort of how long is a piece of string type question. There really isn't an answer for that. At a minimum, it's recommended 500 words, but you can really go up to as long as you want, provided that the content is engaging, that it's, again, answers a question. Obviously, the more concise the content, and the quicker you can answer a question, that's going to be helpful for the user experience, right? If it's too long and people aren't reading your content, then they're going to leave, they're going to jump ship, and they're going to go somewhere else. So you're going to have to strike up a balance around that. But typically, when we're producing content for our clients, we're doing around 1,200 words to 2,000 words for some good. That word size just gives you a good enough word count to get some nice depth into that article. All right, because if you're doing less than 500, you're not really able to go too deep with a content piece. Okay, so let me just check in here, guys. What's been most valuable so far? Because I've just thrown a whole ton of stuff there around ranking factors. But what have you learnt? Well, I'll just grab some water here. Okay, creating an experience, relevant content with keywords. Absolutely. Okay, so there's two sides to the equation. You want to have relevant content with specific keywords, and you also want to have great user experience, right? If the people, remember, we are writing, as much as we're trying to influence how the search engines work, we're also writing for humans, right? So if humans don't enjoy the content, then it's not going to produce great results for you. Thank you for that response. All right, so let's move into basic keyword research and how to do that. All right, this will be the last 10 minutes of this presentation. First, you want to start with some seed words. And when we say seed, this just means, the way we do this is just think of it as you're starting with planting a seed that will grow into, a full-blown tree, right? But to do this, we need to understand, how would you, or how would people who are searching for your product or service describe those, what you do, what you offer in their own words, right? So, so here's an activity. You can describe your product or service with your own words, or brainstorm how people might search for it. Okay, so what are the things they're searching for? What are specific problems, or and this can this can be answered by doing the buyer persona activity in the last module. And if you've already done the work, fantastic. So then this will be a breeze for you to do this step here. But think about what are the sort of things that people are thinking about that they might be searching for. Or in order to find content that would help them, which could be sitting on your website, right? So why don't you do that now? Just write down a few words or phrases that your target audience might search for. Okay, so in my niche or in my industry, people, some people are searching for the keywords article writer because they're looking to hire, or they might be looking for article writer Australia, or or how to hire an article writer. So they're using those type of phrases in search engines to then find potential solutions. Okay, so for your business and for what you're doing, your project, what are a couple of words or phrases that people might be searching for? So go ahead and write that down. Type it into the chat box so I can see what you come up with, and then I'll take a look at that and give you some tips as well if I can see that. Okay. And then step 2 is, once you've got your seed words, you can then look at generating keyword ideas. Okay, so one of the functions of SEMrush is a tool called related keyword search. So when you go in there and you type in a keyword, like I did here, I typed in the keywords article writer, and then it basically spat out a bunch of related keywords, right? And it also gives me the volume of search per month. It gives me the cost per click. You can see CPC there. So when people are placing ads on that keyword, that's how much they're paying right now. So you can determine the level of competition on keywords also based on that cost per click. The more expensive it is for a keyword, that means that's the more competitive that keyword is, right? So right now it's about $3.56 USD per click for article writers if I was to try and run some ads against that keyword. And then it also gives me the competition number, the 0.85, that's that percentage, right? So remember, we want to try and keep it under 60%. So if I were to target articles writing, for example, which is the 5th keyword down here, that's around 0.61%. I'd have a better chance of ranking for that keyword than I would for article writers. Okay, so this is a good way. So once you have your seed keywords, and you might have a whole bunch of those, then you can go into SEMrush, or you can go into Google Keywords tool and type in your keywords, and then it will spit out a whole bunch of related keywords. What you do from here is you take all of those keywords that it actually allows you to export the results into an Excel sheet or a Google sheet. You can then export that and basically generate a whole list of keywords that and then filter those by what's the least competitive. You can filter them by if you're going for a keyword, a paid campaign, you can filter them by cost per click, and this will help you then really get an idea of what you want to write about, or what keywords you want to use for your content and also for your ads. All right? And then step 3 is, once you've done that, is you want to, what we call is get out of the box, and you're going to target some uncommon keywords, and we call these long tail keywords. So long tail, if you're not familiar with the phrase, refers to the stage of the buyer journey where they're essentially looking for a very specific answer to a very specific challenge or question they've got. And the closer they are to asking that question, the closer they are also to buying something. All right, and we've got some examples here on the screen to explain this better. But when we go through this process, step 3 here, what we want to do is get into the shoes or the brains of your potential customers, who they are, what bothers them. We want to talk with those existing customers that you've already got to get to know them better and study the language they use. This is very important, right? We're talking about keywords and phrases, so we need to understand what language they use to articulate, what they're looking for. You also want to be an active participant in niche communities and social networks which relate to your industry, to understand what people are talking about and what language they're using. All right. Now, for example, if you were selling waterproof headphones, all right, so here are some of the out-of-the-box keywords you might try targeting. Okay, so you might try and target how to survive a hard swim practice. Or, you might try and go after how to make swim practice go by faster. Or what do you think about when swimming? Okay, or best swimming style for long distance. Okay, now even though these keywords don't talk specifically about waterproof headphones, right? Now imagine if there were content pieces, articles, people were searching for these keywords, these phrases, and then that took them to, they found your blog, which answered the question, and within that, one of the suggestions that you mentioned is waterproof headphones, okay? Because that's gonna obviously help you swim longer if you've got music or you're listening to motivational stuff as you're swimming, okay? So, and this is a real thing, by the way, I didn't make this up, okay? So this is what we talk about when we're saying long tail keywords, okay? So let's have a quick brainstorm. So what are some of the out-of-the-box phrases your audience might search for, right? So why don't you have a go at typing into the chat box right now, just a phrase that completely, is down that path of a specific problem that they're trying to solve, right? And that's, that would be a long tail phrase. So, 4 or 5 words that they're searching for or might be searching for. Go ahead and type that in the chat box. Okay, great. So Greg's just put in some keyword ideas here. I think these are seed keywords like Aboriginal art, Indigenous art. Okay, Greg, now I want you to think about, long tail. So you go, okay, where do I get or find, authentic Indigenous art, right? So that's a great question. Okay, so that's now you're using a language, potentially here. You need to validate that with your audience. So your comment here is all I see is fake Indigenous art. Okay, so maybe a question around that is, how do I determine if Indigenous art is real or fake, right? How do I know when a piece of artwork Indigenous artwork is fake, right? So stuff like that. So these questions are long tail type questions, and these are things that people could be typing into Google, and you're going to use the keyword like tools like SEMrush to validate that, right? So you would type the whole string in there and see what the tools come back to you with. Another way you can do that, we'll do a quick example here, or I won't do it right now, but what you can do is just take that, copy that string, that long, do boomerang come back, great, right? So, or how do I throw a boomerang, right? Something like that, okay? So you would then copy that string, put into your Google search, and Google's going to recommend, 5 or 6 different drop-down search phrases, all right? Take a note of what those are, because they are long-tail keyword phrases that people are actually searching for, all right? So you could actually go after those keywords and put that into your content, all right? So thanks for the contribution there, Greg. All right, so now let's go. We're going to wrap this up. We've got a bonus section here, which is 5 free SEO tools to help your site rank better. Okay, the first one is a search engine submission tool. Basically, what you want to do is, as part of the ranking factors, you actually need to go and submit your website to the search engines. Don't assume that just because you put a website online, you buy a domain and you get a web host company, that the search engines will rank your site. In many cases, it doesn't do that. You actually have to go to the search engines and actually tell them that your website exists, right? So a tool that you can do that for free is entireweb.com. And the nice thing about EntireWeb is it does that for about 10 different search engines. I think including Google and Yahoo. I think there's one that it doesn't do. That might be Bing, but you can go and submit to Bing search engine directly. Okay. The second one is the Moz Keyword Explorer. This is moz.com/tools. Okay, you've got all the links here. I won't read no point reading it out to you, but you can screenshot this and go there. But that's another keyword tool that you can use. They do have a free version and a paid version. You can play around with the free version, and then if you want to upgrade to the paid, you can. The third one, I mentioned the Google Keyword Planner tool. This is Google's own tool, so it is useful to use it because you can you kind of guarantee that the data it's pulling comes from Google itself, and you need to sign up for an AdWords account and hand over your details in order to access that tool. And then for your website, if you've running your website on WordPress, which I highly recommend you do, then you can install a free plugin called Yoast SEO plugin. And this, we talked about, I mentioned on-page SEO earlier. The Yoast SEO plugin makes it super easy for you to make sure that you are taking care of the on-page SEO, okay? Basically, when you're creating your post or your page, excuse me, the plugin gives you a little section down the bottom where you can go in and type in your keywords, and it will give you some tips on what you need to do on the page in order to optimize it for SEO, okay? Great tool, and I highly suggest you use that. And then the fifth tool is Google Analytics, which is basically, what's the point of doing all this stuff if you can't measure, you know, if it's working for you? So Google Analytics actually helps you measure certain elements of your site, like how fast, like how long people are spending on your site, what pages of people are visiting the most, and it helps you rank them so you can see what content is working best on your site. It also shows you the sources of your traffic, so you can see where people are coming from. If you've got backlinks, it can show you which one of those backlinks are performing better than the others. All right, so definitely recommend you set that up for your site if you haven't done that. Okay, I will share all these links to you anyway with the recording, so you don't need to write them down frantically. You'll be able to access those. Okay? So let's do a recap for today. We covered why is SEO important for your business. We looked at what is search engine optimization. We talked about the top three ranking factors and how you can actually do some actions to influence those ranking factors on your own site. And we also looked at how to do basic keyword research. All right, so there was a lot there we've covered. So what's next? We've now one more class left, and that's Facebook for Beginners. And that's where we will cover how to utilize Facebook and how Facebook sort of fits into the mix of all of this stuff. All right. So what was most valuable today? Just in the chat box, let me know what was the key thing that was valuable for you to learn from this session. All right, and so I think Greg's still typing an answer in there. That's all good. Thanks, Greg. So whilst you do that, oh wow, okay, a bunch of stuff here. So researching keywords, making sure things done when building a site as you're about to get a new site. Awesome. You want to create that experience which you're already looking to do, and constantly working at the SEO. Absolutely. And the best way to do SEO is to just build it into your process. So it's something that you're doing as you go along, because when you've already got 50 pieces of content on your site and it gets larger, it gets really hard to do it then, right? So you're doing it along the way. So I would say install the Yoast SEO plugin, start doing that stuff as you go along, and optimize for mobile, get the speeds down, make sure you've got a good web host. All these things, do it from the beginning, you'll be right, okay? So now, if you want to watch the replay of this and get the slides, and also the replay of the last 2 modules and the slides for those, I've set up a site for you to go and do that. So maybe just write this down or screenshot it. Go to simplecreativemarketing.com/investible/course, and that you'll be able to access all of those, plus some additional resources that I've added on there for you. That way you can go and delve into specific content around these things as you need it. Okay. As always, if you've got any questions, just shoot them over to me at my email address. And I think we're going to wrap it up now. Just open for quick Q&A. Greg, did you have any sort of question that's sort of pressing right now for you? Oh, you're good to go. All right, awesome. So the replay should be up by tomorrow, as well as the slides, and that way you can go over there and access that. All right, and then if you can do me a favor, Greg, and just shoot that through to the team, that would be really helpful as well. Thank you. All right, so that's it. Liz Marie, did you have any questions while we're still on here? Welcome to unmute your line. Ask any questions.
Nope, I'm good.
You're good? Awesome. All right, so let's leave it there, and we will check in for the next call. I do need to, just whilst we're here, let me just stop the recording.